Good morning. How are you? Well, there's a light rain, so I don't know if I'll have to retreat or at least turn off the phone because I can get wet and not dissolve, but my phone may just stop working. Today it's all about the Virginia race, no question about it. And several may ask, how do we get to such a close race when Northam won by, I want to say 8 points or 9 points, although the polls indicated that it's very close in his case, which may tell us something about how effective polls are in this day and age. The race was set up in a primary, and I think some people may be upset that their nominee didn't get the nod. And so there was that McAuliffe had to deal with. But I think most people, including myself, thought that McAuliffe did a really good job as the governor in the past, and that he would be a good candidate because he is a good candidate. What went wrong? Well, I don't think McAuliffe did so much wrong. You know, every candidate has a gaffe or two and they survive it or they don't. But what I think happened was the national campaign on the Hill and in the White House affected what was going on in Virginia in two ways. One is that the theme for the Democrats became this guy Youngkin, he's just an acolyte for Trump. After all, Trump supported him wildly in the primary. And now Youngkin thinks that to get crossover votes from independents and Democrats and so forth, he has to appear more independent of Trump, a different guy. And so there's that on that side. He also chose a couple of issues, one discriminating issues that involve race. Don't read this book, so what is he going to do, burn books? And don't trust transgender. This is outrageous, we can't have it, appealing to a religious base. Also the notion of the critical race theory, namely that they would prefer we not teach anybody about racism that has existed historically even. And the critical race theory is not a theory that is taught in school. But I think that the Democrats made a big mistake not saying what it was and that it's not taught in school. And that what we do teach in school is history. And that does give us the information, the grounding, to know going forward how not to repeat the bad chapters of history and to appreciate where we've gone wrong, when we've gone wrong, and where we've gone right as well. That discussion never happened that way, and maybe that's the sin of modern politics. And frankly, the Republicans have been, I want to say, much better at disinformation, and the Democrats have not combated disinformation, so that's a big mistake. The campaign had too little, too late, and the food fight on the Hill about infrastructure, I always thought was the wrong issue. You know, I think professionally, people that have to make decisions, if they look at 50 pieces of evidence and 25, scenarios, a person who leads has to be able to say, these 3 data points matter, and these are the only choices we should consider. And so, okay, Big Mouth Flannery, what do you think they should have been? Voting, voting, voting. It is the ability to vote. It is the democracy, stupid, against the autocracy. It is about disinformation. It is about reckoning. That's the fight America should be fighting, especially since apparently Democrats can't count how many they have, and they don't hear when McConnell says he's not going to cooperate with them. And if we're going to answer the public when they say, why can't you get something done? Why isn't it always the Republicans have told you they're going to do everything to stop it? And we're going to do everything we can to make something happen. And we have several ways to do it. And we have executive orders to do it. That's the message. And we're not selling that message. And it's like we don't want to offend Republicans because we need them to get elected. So what's going to happen this evening? I'm hopeful that we're going to win by a hair. That is, McAuliffe will. And because he doesn't have coattails, I don't know what will happen to the 100 members of the General Assembly who are up. And I don't know what will happen to the Lieutenant Governor and Attorney General. And Mark Herring, who is from my county and a friend, and he's had a long and good career, and he's been an outstanding Attorney General, deserves to be reelected. And I certainly hope he will be. But in prior outings, he's come very close in order to win. Meaning to say he's come close to losing is one way to put it, I suppose. So I'm concerned about that. Let's turn to another issue. Herd immunity. Well, today I got my booster, so I've done all that I can, at least in that defensive way. But there's a senator on the Hill, Mike Lee from Utah, who has this notion about we should identify those who have immunity by having had the virus. Well, how do you test that? Also, we're on notice that if you don't have the vaccine, getting the virus to gain the immunity also carries with it the alternative that you may get very sick, you may have permanent damage, and you may die. Also, I repeat myself, we have no way of measuring it. And herd immunity, we're on notice that there doesn't appear to be herd immunity, meaning over time, people, by one means or another, could develop immunity as a society or community or so forth. And the numbers are up in the 70%. But what we've learned is, just like me taking this booster and others doing that you're not permanently protected. So you have to get boosters. Well, how do you get a booster if you had it once? The answer, according to CDC, is that it wears off whether you got it as an illness or you had a vaccine. So there's just more nonsense endangering people by leaders who, if they don't know better, should resign because they're too stupid and unscientific to be allowed to hold public office. They're a danger to our community. I think we have to look at where we're going to go in the future, and I think that we have to have a mandate for the vaccine, and there's no question about it. And we have this case, Jacobson, that goes back to 1905, involving smallpox in Massachusetts, that basically says it's legal, lawful, constitutional to do so, and we should do so. And we have enough data points now to know that it's safe for people to have that. What are we going to do going forward? Well, we're going to take stock after the election, and we'll have statistics that tell us what happened at the doorway of the voting booth. And based on that, we'll try to project what's going to happen going forward. But my formula is really simple, and I think it's that we have not recognized where we are. And so there's a dissociation between the dangers this country is facing to its democracy and to its health and to its representation in Congress and its ability to do things, and that the Republicans should be called out for failing to do their job. But there we are. So here I am on this overcast day out in the woods, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.